Welcome to r/IDontWorkHereLady, where we share stories about folks that are mistaken for employees by irate customers. And the first story is, put your cart back, lady. I, 20 male, took my friend to the grocery store today and waited for him in the car. While I was sitting there, the woman parked next to me decided to just put your cart between our cars and leave it there. Well, that doesn't sit right with me, because if you give even one half of one crap, you can find a cart returned somewhere nearby, and in our circumstance, there was one less than 30 feet away. So I got out of my car and grabbed her cart to take it back, but I also flipped her the bird. Well, I put her cart back and turned around to see her approaching me. She asked me if I flipped her off, and I said yeah, because you didn't put your cart back, and it's literally the easiest thing in the world. She started lecturing me about respect and the unacceptability of flipping people off. Next thing I know, she's telling me to come along with her so we can go find my manager. Well, I obviously don't work here. I'm not wearing a company uniform, and in fact, I'm wearing sweats and an old t-shirt with holes in it. I very bluntly state that I don't work here, and the look on her face was priceless. She no longer had any way to make me atone for my egregious sin. She stuttered on her words for a second before asking me if I had parents, who ever taught me respect. I responded, obviously I do. They taught me enough respect to put my effing cart back. Well, she had no clue how to respond to it, and shuffled back to her car, leaving me feeling proud of my small victory against the Karenhood. The second story is, I get harassed while teaching a game. Store owner starts to give me the employee discount. It's me, your friendly neighborhood card game judge. In addition to running and judging tournaments all over the place, I have some shocking news. I love card games. I've played almost every CCG, TCG, LCG, unique games, card game that's been printed. And I love teaching people how to play card games. Some games are really simple, and others are complex and require 5 sets of tokens. So about 5 weeks ago, I was at my FLGS, friendly local game store, and I was showing a few people how to play a new cooperative card game based on a major comic book franchise. I was explaining the rules and what the cards do and everything. The entire time there was this ET, let's call him MODOK, that kept interrupting me. Now I love teaching, so I didn't mind explaining things, but MODOK was asking things like, why isn't Krypton Man or Nocturnal Avian Mammal Man in this game? Wrong publisher. How come you're playing as a girl hero? Who's that anyway? I never heard of her, she must suck. I kind of had enough. So I snapped. Look, you apparently don't know what you're talking about, so please leave us alone and let me finish teaching the game. If you're interested in learning, I can stick around after and teach you the game. MODOK stormed off, and I'm like, good riddance. Finally, I got the game set up and we started playing. All was well, with the exception that we're getting our A's kicked by the game. Then I noticed MODOK walking to a woman, let's call her Hella, in full Karen gear storming towards me. Uh-oh. Hella, did you snap at my kid? Me, yeah, I'm trying to teach this game to people and MODOK kept interrupting us. Hella, well, isn't it your job to answer questions from customers? Me, what are you talking about? Hella, you work here, don't you? Me, no, I don't, and I'm done being interrupted. Get lost, lady. Hella, how dare you? I know I've seen you behind the counter before, and you're here every week doing things. Me, look, get it through your thick skull that I don't work here. Now leave me alone before I have you and MODOK thrown out for harassing me. Hella, you're a liar. You do work here. Me, I'm done with this BS. I storm to the counter and get the store owner. We'll call him Thor. Thor, hey, what's going on? Me, can you fix this crazy bee in her spawn? She's been harassing me for the last 5 minutes and saying I work for you. Thor, you do? Looks at Hella and MODOK. Oh God, you two? Look, it's one thing to harass my employees. They get paid to take a certain amount of abuse. But it's completely another thing to harass one of my customers. Do you know how much this guy spends in my store? Hella, why is everyone lying? I know he works here. I see him behind the counter on your computer. Fire him right now, or I will make sure MODOK or his friends never come to your store ever again. Thor, he runs events for me, that's why he's behind the counter. I don't pay him to run those events. I can't run those events without him, and I make money off those events. I'm not firing him because he's not an employee, and if he was an employee, I wouldn't fire him for all the money he makes me. And MODOK and his friends? What friends? Oh, his friends who he annoys all the time? The friends that gets yelled at by him when they try to get him better? And the friends that beg me to ban him from the store? Those friends? Now get the F out of my store or I'll call the cops. Hella looks stunned for a minute, and then turns around and storms out of the store. MODOK stood there looking like he's about to cry. Then Thor shouted, leave now, and MODOK turned and ran after Hella. Me, thanks. Do I get the employee discount now? Thor rolled his eyes at me and flipped me off, and walked away laughing. I went back to my table and continued the game. We got our A's handed to us. Few weeks later, I went back and picked up something from the store. I know how much the item should cost, but the price I was being charged was lower than I was expecting. I didn't mention anything, but I noticed on the receipt 10% employee discount. I mentioned this to the clerk, and he pulled up my store account, and he told me that Thor changed my account to an employee account. The third story is, I don't work here, I work in another store. English is not my mother language. Sorry for any error. This happened a couple of years ago. I work in a supermarket who's close to my house. Nothing fancy. I just cut ham, cheese, and the in-between. But with the time, I memorized a lot of weight codes of the products. Put the code, weigh the product, and get a barcode to pay it. I was on my way home after a short day. I stopped by the market close to my college to buy some ham and cheese. This market was the same brand as the one I work, so I can use my employee discount. There was just one lady on the line in front of me, but the employee was really nervous, looking for something on a notepad. The woman wasn't buttered or angry, but the boy was embarrassed anyways. I recognized what he was doing. It happened to me too when I was new, so I told him, "Are you looking for the code?" He, "Yes." Me, "What is that?" referring to the ham. He, "Brand name turkey ham." Me, "It's code." He, "Oh, thank you." The boy and the woman thanked me. The woman just left and the boy asked me if I worked there. I replied yes, but in another establishment. He asked me for some other codes he couldn't find. I asked for my ham and cheese. When I hear an angry, "If you're done with the chatting, I need more of this." Then an angry woman shoved a bag of fancy coffee brand into my chest and say, "Now, I don't have your time." The woman, who I'm gonna call Kay, was like 1.60 meters tall, probably in her late 20s or early 30s, with some overweight, wearing sunglasses. Yes, inside a building, with an "I'm rich, important, and better than you, I'm a customer, you work for me" expression, and even with the Karen haircut. I was gonna tell her that I didn't work there, but she interrupted me and said, "Hurry up." I give her coffee back and told her, "I don't work." Karen, "I don't care, I don't have your time." Me, "I don't work here." Karen, "I heard you saying you work here, so hurry up." Me, "Yeah, but I don't work here. I work in another brand name. Now stop bothering me." Kay, "Then you work here. Bring me my effing coffee, you insulting words." I don't tolerate being insulted, even at work, so I just grab my things and turned around and say on an audible tone, "Stupid old hag." Kay, grabbing my arm and with a furious expression, "What did you say, you little SH? I'm actually 1.85, pretty tall for my country, average height." Me, "Don't touch me, you effing B." Instead of getting on an insult fight, the Spanish language have a rich and varied amount of insults, I just walked away because tall man arguing with small woman has horrible preconceptions against men. But she chased me for half the store, throwing threats and demanding me to give her my name so she can fire me. A lot of effort for someone in a hurry. Eventually she disappeared, and I thought that was the end, but it wasn't. I already had everything I wanted from the store, but instead of going to the cash registers, I went to the entrance, where I talked with a security guard. Security guard, "Hi sir, but you need to pay there," pointing at the registers. Me, "Yeah, I know, but I just had a crazy woman yelling at me for no reason. She was saying something about a coffee or something." Security guard, "Oh, you're him. Name of the worker I helped. Told us about you. My partner was looking for you and the woman. Please stay here a moment." The security guard talked with someone on his radio, and a moment later the manager showed up, being followed by the rude woman. She started to demand for me to get fired. The manager told her that he can't do that because he wasn't my boss. Then the woman demanded to get my name, but I just told her to F off. Finally, after some more insults and screams, the manager just asked me if I needed something else. I said no, I just want to leave. He just apologized to me, told me I was free to go and that the woman was going to be contained until I was out of the store. Again, that wasn't the end. I was waiting to cross the street when I saw that woman coming up to me with pure rage on her face, making fists and swearing like a sailor. This time I lost all my patience. I turned around to face her and in a furious voice, I just yelled, "Get any closer and I'm gonna BR your face." This sounds a little violent, but my plan was to just scare her. If that didn't work, I was gonna push her and go back to the store to ask them to call the police. Luckily, this worked. Maybe common sense took control, and she realized that attacking an angry tall guy she was bothering, threatening and following on an almost empty street over something she started and continued wasn't a good idea. After that, she went back to the store and I went home. So I helped an employee because I work in the same supermarket brand. An angry Karen hears it and demands for me to work and look for a fancy coffee she wanted. She insists in making me work after I told her I didn't work there. She follows me around the store insulting me, threatening me and demanding my name so I can be fired because I insulted back. I asked the guards for help, and she even followed me outside the store to attack me. And finally, she went back after I threatened her with fighting back if she came any closer. And today's last story is, no, I'm not staff, and no, you can't crash my dad's wedding. About a year ago, my dad was getting married. As it was his second wedding, he didn't want it to be a huge event, and neither did his fiancée. Thus, they decided to have their wedding with just 17 guests at the bookstore where they met. Aw, it was so cute I wanted to throw up. He asked me and my sisters to guide the other guests to the room where the ceremony would be held, since we were there early to set up. The bookstore was something of a maze, as bookstores often are. My dad's wedding was being held on the second floor, so my sisters and I were stationed at various places on the first floor leading to the stairs, which were hidden in a little corner in the back. My sisters and I were dressed up, but not wearing name tags or aprons like the people who actually worked at the bookstore. That didn't stop a parade of people stopping by and asking where to find certain books. I don't know what it was about my appearance in particular, but most customers came to me instead of my sisters. I get that I was standing in a particular spot, and that I could have looked like I was there to answer questions, but the staff were busy shelving books, dusting, making coffee, and generally being busy, so I would have been a pretty lousy staff member just standing around like that. One customer in particular approached me and asked if I knew where the painting that used to hang in the store was now. I answered that I didn't work here and was simply guiding guests to the room where my dad's wedding was to be held. The man looked incredulous and asked me several more questions about the painting, including who the artist was, what the medium was, the size of the painting, and what the subject was. After I answered that I didn't know any of those things, he was satisfied that I did not in fact work at the bookstore. He then proceeded to say how much he loved weddings, no matter who was getting married. He asked where the wedding was being held and if he could take a peek. I answered that that would be really weird, given that it's a private ceremony, and my dad would probably appreciate it if he didn't. He laughed it off and said, "Oh well, I'll come by and crash the wedding later. I just love weddings so much." I practically begged him to not crash my dad's wedding, even just to watch, because there were so few guests that it would just be painfully awkward to have some random man smiling in the back. After a few moments of us going back and forth, and him promising he'd be there whether we liked it or not, he finally agreed to leave the wedding alone. He stayed for a suspiciously long time in the bookstore, watching all the guests come in. He smiled ridiculously as my now stepmother walked in with her dress and headed upstairs, provoking her to ask me and my sisters, "Who is that creepy smiling guy standing around watching the entourage?" We responded, "He's just some guy who really likes weddings," and asked if he could crash yours. To our great relief, he didn't show up at the ceremony. But the whole time I was worried about it. Sorry for being distracted during your wedding, Dad. Thank you guys for your likes and comments. See you next time.